Hey everyone, it's Mike the Star Turtle. Today I'll be reviewing Game of Thrones Season 5, Episode 8, Hardhome. And I'll give the usual spoiler warning. There will be spoilers, so if you haven't watched this episode yet, unless you don't care about spoilers, then stop listening and go watch it. Get caught up before you come back. So yeah, winter is kinda here, but I will get back to that. First, what I fortunately think is the least interesting part of this season right now, which is It's still interesting. Just I think it's compared to everything else, I don't think it's not as interesting. And yeah, so Arya, undercover as a clam salesman or saleswoman, was pretty amusing, and now she's got her first assassination gig, and we'll see what happens with that. I mean, it's all the same to the many-faced god, so. Anyway, next, what most other people think is the least interesting part of the whole show, and that's Sam and Gilly. I mean, I'm sorry, I like Sam. I know a lot of people hate Sam. I don't get it, but I still like him. He's still licking his wounds from the beating he took last episode. He still needs to learn how to fight, because this is getting ridiculous, but yeah. And so then Ollie comes in, and he's still pretty pissed about what's going on with John's making an alliance with the wildlings. He got to see how his whole family get slaughtered by wildlings, so you understand why he's so pissed. But he needs to understand, like, I don't think neither John nor Sam did a good job, like, trying to get to the point with him, just making sure, like, yeah, we're all making sacrifices. Like, John, like, he quested more men from Roose Bolton. The guy betrayed and murdered his brother. So, yeah, we're all kind of pissed about this, but we have to do what we have to do. And no one's trying to get that point across. That kid's thick head. There's gonna be some conflict when John comes back. You can tell because a lot of animosity already, and now he's gone. There's gonna be a lot of people. Jim isn't doing a good enough job keeping the peace. So I really hope that John won't be forced to kill the kid, because he may have to. This wouldn't be the first time children die on this show, and this kid is not. I mean, he's got, like I said, he's got good reason to be pissed off about all this, but he's not being reasonable. So we'll see what happens with that. Next, Winterfell. Sansa is understandably pissed about what happened with Theon. It looks like Theon did legitimately go to betray her. Though whether or not it's because he actually cares about her and actually believes that if she tries to escape, she'll get caught and he'll hurt her even worse than he has already. Because he's broken. A naked man who holds few secrets, a flayed man none. And right now, sadly, I hate to say this is kind of a fucked up thing to say, but the most he's doing to Sansa is raping her, maybe beating her a little. And let's face this, like, although the second she has kids, who knows what he'll do, but if she really crosses him, there's no telling what he'll do. So I almost wonder if Theon really does care about her, and he feels like he did it for her own good, but he's still broken, and she's not getting out of there anytime soon, and she's probably is going to kill him next when she gets a chance. So Theon, but. Yeah, so, yeah. And then now back to Roose and Ramsay. They know Stannis is marching, but he's really no closer than he was last episode, so Roose just wants to wait him out, but Ramsay just wants to take 20 good men and slaughter them all in their sleep, because they don't have an army to fight him right now, especially in the weather, but they feel like they need to show some kind of force to make sure the rest of the North knows who's in charge now, which makes sense, and we'll see what happens with that. Next, King's Landing. Cersei knows what it's like now to be a commoner in the street, forced to suck water from the floor because you've got nothing else to do. She refused to confess because she's a stubborn bitch. Although, to be fair, the things that they're technically confessing her of are actually not the worst things she's done. I mean, as fucked up as incest is, there are worse things someone can do. I'm sorry, especially considering the fact that what she's done. But anyway, her uncle Kevin is now pretty much in charge, since Tommen ain't doing shit, and Qyburn's still conducting his experiments, though we still haven't seen much of those lately. And I'm not sure if her trial will be next episode or the episode afterwards, but I'm sure we'll get to see it before the season's over. And now back to the point where everyone cares about, that everyone's been waiting for, and that's Dany and Tyrion finally interacting with each other. Something that one from I hear was never in the books, at least not currently. So This was awesome because this is probably the first time. Okay, well, the first time was with Tyrion and Jorah, but the first time this season that characters we've been in Essos all this time have finally interacted with people who've been in Westeros all this time. So it was awesome to see. Like when her and Jorah first brought before Dany in their throne room, like can't be like more than a few hours after what happened last time we saw them, and I love how like she of course just doesn't know who he really is, who he says he is, Tyrion. So she asked him what he would do with Jorah, and he just gives a completely balanced, unbiased depiction of all the pros and cons of what would be if she kept Jorah around. Like just like he legitimately respects Jorah, and he believes that Jorah is legitimately like still devoted to Dany, and is probably in love with her, and she's at least moved enough to not have him killed. But she exiles him again, and of course he goes back to the fight bits and says, "I'm the best you've got. Let me fight in the big games, because he knows he's gonna die anyway soon, so might as well die fighting in front of the woman he loves." And the next conversation between Dany and Tyrion was fucking amazing. Like, I love that conversation. It was so awesome. I actually rewound the episode because I was watching it on HBO Go, and I watched it again. The only thing I didn't like is that she was kind of being a smug bitch through most of it. A smug, arrogant little bitch. She's everything she's been through, she's kind of overconfident. And Tyrion was like, "You don't know Westeros. Like, you were like, what, 5 or 6 at the oldest when you were taken away? You don't remember shit. I know Westeros. You don't." He didn't went as far as to say that you really got a good thing going here. You really don't even. You sure you want to be queen of Westeros? Like, you stay here. This is where you're doing the most good. There's only so much you're going to be able to do over in Westeros. And Dany is still refusing to compromise, and that's going to come back to bite her. Okay, she's compromised a little bit, but she still needs to learn that she can't always basically do the things she wants to do. I mean, she kind of, like I said, she's kind of really realized that, but she still has her head in the clouds. Or sand, or whatever the case may be. But at least she knows enough, whether or not she really believes Tyrion is who he says he is, she still knows that he's worth keeping around as an advisor. So, unless Tyrion dies to the end of the next couple episodes, I really hope that doesn't happen, but who the fuck knows. I'm still pretty sure Jorah's going to die. I mean, hopefully Tyrion won't, but you never know with this show. And now we get to this scene that probably everyone's going to talk about the most. Like, everyone was excited for Dany and Tyrion, and those scenes didn't disappoint. Like, those scenes were longer than they needed to be, but we wanted them to be because we were waiting so long for it, so I'm glad they kept them. They didn't cut them longer. And this episode was longer than, it was like a good 5 or 10 minutes longer than most episodes do, and they needed to be. Okay, that final sequence, when the episode gets its name at Hardhome, the town where most of the wildlings at least are living, at least all the ones that Mansa united, we get introduced to another Fen. I mean, everyone fucking hates Fens. I mean, at least Ollie has good reason to hate Fens. Fuck the Fens. And we also get introduced to this badass wildling chick, Carsey, I think her name was. And yeah, Jon, Tormund, and a few other White Watchmen, and most notably, Jon's pretty much only other surviving friend aside from Sam, whose name I forget. So they meet with the elders, except for the Lord of Bones, because he got taken out by Tormund pretty quick. That was pretty cool. Never even got to know what his real name was. So long, Lord of Bones, we hardly knew you. But anyway, the Jon was actually able to convince most, with Torvald's help, that with most of the free folk that regardless of how much we hate each other, we need to work together, because, the White Walkers, and yeah, and he's able to convince most of them to go with him. Not that it made that much difference, because, well, okay, so if we knew something was going to happen when they started evacuating people, and Carsey is evacuating her 2 daughters, and just the way she's looking at her daughters while they're on the boat, and she's staying behind to make sure to get all the rest of the people get out. Just that way that she was shot, you knew something bad was about to happen. And then the dogs start barking, and then the wind starts blowing louder than it already was, and then a giant white mist is on the horizon, and then we hear people in the distance on the outer parts of Hardhome start screaming and running back toward Jon. The rest are, and then the Fen guy decides to seal off the section of the Hardhome where they are before too many people can get through. And he probably could have kept open a couple more seconds, but I guess I can't blame him for not taking the risk, because pretty much a few seconds after they close the gate, all the scream people on the other side just stop screaming. And then he looks through, and then here comes the army of zombie whites. And okay, we were all really hoping that John would at least get into a fight with like a White Walker scouting party. But this wasn't a fucking scouting party. This is a full-on motherfucking assault. Like, nobody was expecting this to happen. We knew the Battle of the Wall was coming, and we knew Blackwater was coming when we were watching those seasons, but no one expected this. Like, this was a badass, epic motherfucking scene. Like, I was on the edge of my seat. I didn't think one moment that John would die, but it was still a badass scene. Actually, kind of surprised that his White Watch friend ended up living, and it was also cool. We briefly saw the Giant, and got to see the Giant kick some ass. And looks like the Giant's still alive too, so we'll get to see more of him. I mean, considering how much that must cost, considering dragons and giants, the CGI for those things is not cheap. But we'll probably just see him walking around a bit the next episode. Next time we see him, if we see him this season, we won't see him do much more than we did today. But it was still pretty cool. It was stopping and swatting whites, but it wasn't enough. They kept pouring through, and John and they were forced to leave a bunch of people behind, and you can tell, even though they had only just made a casual, tolerable alliance of peace between him and the White Walkers, he was still distraught over how much they left behind. Not just because they needed the army, but because he knew they were all people, and he hated the fact that they pretty much most people would get left behind to get slaughtered. Like, at least like 60-70%, maybe more, were died. Plus, someone just jumped in the water out of fear, and water at no temperatures, they ain't gonna survive unless they get warm quick, and they probably didn't. And yeah, and that badass wildling chick Carsey, I was hoping we could see a little bit more with her, but nope. She saw some white children, couldn't bring herself to fight them, and she got mauled, and that was pretty disturbing to watch. And then, as John just barely manages to escape, first he managed to kill a White Walker. He loses the dragon glass, which just kind of sucked, but he realized that his Valyrian steel blade that the Lord Commander Mormon had given him in the first season actually is effective against White Walkers. Whether that means that it's got dragonglass in it, or if Valyrian steel is also just as effective as dragonglass, I don't know. But we'll probably learn more about that later. But that was pretty awesome. He finally faced the White Walker and killed it, because this needed to happen sooner or later. It needed to happen, and I'm glad it finally happened. And then, like, John managed to escape. He still they just really distraught over how much people got slaughtered, because, like I said, we're lucky to get 40-30% out of all the wildlings there got out. If that's optimistic. And then he's face to face with the closest thing to a singular main villain in this entire series, the King of the White Walkers. Or at least we think he's the king. And the way first we see the rest of the whites just slaughtering the few wildlings who were on the docks who didn't get out in time, and then the king just raises his arms, and all the dead free folk just rise and become more whites. I was expecting them to all just howl or scream in that death white way, but they didn't. But still, it was a pretty eerie scene, and just you can tell, at first you weren't sure if you were going to be sympathetic to the White Walkers, but then the way he looked at John, he's like, fuck you. This is going to be you in a little bit. Just you wait. And yeah, so like I said, this scene needed to happen. I only had two complaints about this scene. One minor gripe is that there were points where I couldn't tell who was who, who was a wildling and who was a white. But it was still pretty brutal, the way those whites, they were fighting, they were biting people like zombies, but they were also swinging swords. And they were pretty surprisingly strong and fast too. So they may be an army of zombies, but they're formidable zombies. And also, the only two things I didn't care about the scene were one, except I know it's gonna be a long time before we ever see the White Walkers in action like this again, in full force. And two, I wish there had been more sexual characters witnessing all this. It was just John, really, and Tormund. That's pretty much it. But it was still an epic scene, a badass scene. I'll make sure to see if they'll actually be able to top it in the next episode. Because episode 9, another big gotta be another big set piece. But we definitely won't see the battle between Roose and Stannis this season, because between this and the next episode set piece, there's no way they'll be able to afford it. So, yeah, I'll make sure to see if the next episode tops this. But that was just seriously badass. I was really emotionally exhausted after watching that final scene. I want to watch this whole episode again. Definitely one of the best episodes of the entire series. So let's see if the next couple episodes live up to it. So, all right. Take care.